So now after we got teased in the keynote with all the great topics, we have now the two of the brains behind the UI5 Web Components here, Nayden and Ilhan, and they will give us a deep dive on what's new on the web components. So I'm very excited. I hope you guys are very excited. So please give them a big hand, and then the stage is all yours, gentlemen.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at UI5 Con and attending our session. My name is Ilhan and this is Nayden, and we are part of the Web Components core team. And today we are going to talk about the latest developments in the UI5 Web Components project. And it was a lot going on recently. But before we go into the details and dive in, I would like to start with a quick warm-up and quick overview of the project so that everyone is aligned and understands the topic. So what are UI5 Web Components? The short definition says that they're enterprise-ready UI elements on top of native APIs. Native APIs are also always great because we can base on that and it's supported everywhere. And we can also say that they're custom HTML tags, starting with UI5 and they encapsulate HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to provide both visual presentation and interaction behavior, basically the building blocks for your UIs. But let's elaborate on that by highlighting the key features of the library. The UI5 Web Components are themable. They come with built-in themes like SAP Horizon, SAP Quartz, but you can have also a custom one if you need. The components are fully accessible because they are compliant to the latest accessibility standards. But most important, they are future-proof as they're based on the web standards supported by all browsers. This also means that they're compatible with any web frameworks, such as Angular, React, Vue, and whatever comes in future. And it comes with TypeScript support, because we provide TypeScript definitions for all components and public APIs. And finally, it's an open source project maintained by the UI5 team. All right, and if you'd like to try it, you need to install them from npm, because this is the place where we push the components. And then you can import the desired component, and that's it. We are ready to go. We have the first example shows the usage in pure HTML. You have the UI5 button tag, and on the right side, you have the output, completely ready to be used button, enterprise ready with all mentioned standards built in. But you can take this UI5 button to a React template or an Angular template. And as you can see, the surroundings may change, the syntax is different, but the output remains the same, and the UI5 tag usage is completely the same. This is one of the key strengths of the UI5 Web Components. It just lets you use the framework of your choice. Okay, let's see the distribution of the library on npm. So we have the components packages, web components, including bread and butter components like buttons, inputs, pop-ups, commonly used in web applications. And the Fiori package, which includes more sub-design specific components like flexible column layout, wizard. We are now have more than, I think, 70 components. Underneath, we have a framework. It's included in the base package, and it provides APIs for configuration of the language or the theme, but most notably the UI5 element class, which is the parent class of all web components, and it handles the life cycle of the components, also handling some rendering related tasks. But we also provide tools for component development for those of you that would like to develop custom web components libraries, including development server, build and start and test tasks, or commands for quickly bootstrapping a web components project. Okay, so let's have a look at the project timeline. It all started in 2017 with the first prototypes, and then on the next year we already released our beta version, and 1 year later we had our release candidate, finally reaching to our first major release in 2021. We continued our work and adding more and more features. Last year, we did a huge migration towards TypeScript by rewriting basically the entire code base to TypeScript. And we come to this year, and it was really a year full of very interesting developments in the web standards that shaped our next steps and helped us addressing long-hanging challenges. But Nayden will tell us more.
Okay. So, hi. During the current stage of during the development to the current stage of the library, we faced a couple of big challenges that didn't have specific and native solution. So we had to come with a custom handling of the challenges. So with the development, we started to develop more and more components that have some kind of pop-up functionality, and one of the main challenges was how to position, display, and make not unaffected by the page styles pop-ups. So for that, we started to split our components on two parts. The first one was the part of the component, and the second one about the pop-up functionality. Then we introduced this custom element called static area, where all the pop-up contents was placed. With that static area element, we guarantee that the pop-ups content is unaffected by the page styles, also the stacking contents, and etc. But this wasn't enough for all the things, because we still had to, how to say, to manage the z-index of the pop-ups contents, so to display the pop-ups in the correct order that they are shown on the page. Then the browser standards evolved and the popover API was introduced. And the popover API allows us to display pop-up contents natively by using this popover attribute. With that, it renders the content in a special top layer, which takes the whole screen, and it's placed over the rest of the content of the page. So when the popover API is introduced, we integrated it into the UI5 Web Components, and now with that we no longer need the static area, since the pop-up contents might be placed inside the shadow DOM of the components. And as I said, the pop-up contents is rendered inside this top layer, and the top layer is placed over the whole page, which means that we no longer need to worry about the stacking context. And we no longer to manage some things manually from our side. Another problem was how to enable the components to work normally in the forms, since there wasn't native support to make web components to work in forms, we had to come with custom solution. So the custom solution was to render native input into the white DOM of the components, and to make the form element to understand that there is input. Then we had to sync this input with the internal state of the component, and with that we guarantee that everything is submitted right when the form is submitted. Then again the browser standards evolve, and element internals API was introduced. The element internals API allows us to make components to fully participate into forms as native input elements. Then again, when no major browsers support it, we adopted it into the UI5 Web Components, and now they work in forms natively. And about these are some couple of examples about the web standards that we have adopted. And basically, these standards allow us to reduce the complexity of our library and to provide better quality.
Actually, from the very start of the project, we always wanted to adopt the latest standards and to offer the latest features to our consumers. Yeah, these changes often requires this innovating often requires changes, and this led to us to introducing a Web Components 2.0 version. Maybe a couple of photos here. Because it's a huge milestone and it represents a leap forward and also a promise to the future, because we are not holding back. We are always showing the latest and greatest and adopting the latest and greatest. And I'm sure that you are curious what's new. So before let's see what we've prepared for you. Components with pop-ups level up. Indeed. Nayden already explained the adoption of the Pop-Over API, but I will focus on the practical benefits for for application developers that are using us. Previously, in version 1, we couldn't slot elements that show popovers into their popovers because that part is completely detached from the component. It's in other area of the DOM, the so-called static area. For example, let's take a look at the select component. It receives option web components inside, but on the other side, we don't render the option. It's treated like abstract element. Instead, we render a list item reusing the content. And yeah, this leads to a lot of limitations, but luckily in version 2, we now, as you can see on the example below, passing the same UI5 option now goes slotted to the responsive popover. And this is possible because the popover is now part of the select. It's not somewhere else. And this fact contributes to two great enhancements. The first one is that now custom content gets displayed in the drop-down elements, which was not previously possible. Let's focus on the example below. You have the select, you have this new web component inside UI5 option-custom, but more important, focus on the content inside. So it's completely arbitrary div elements, text components inside, and they got displayed, as you can see on the left. And that was not previously possible. And this aims to address many stakeholder requirements when the fixed design is not enough. Okay, and the second enhancement is the extended overstyling capability. In version 1, as I said, the option element or the drop-down element is not physically rendered in the popover. It's just abstract element that we read the state from it and render something else. But now that in version 2 it's physically rendered, we can just style it with a simple CSS like this. I can change the background of the UI5 option with these 3 lines of CSS. Okay, so let's see this in action. Prepared a quick demo on this topic. This is a simple page, and I have a single select based on version 2, adopted the Popover API, and this is the initial state. These are the standard option with only displaying text. And previously, to have something else inside, you needed to use the APIs. For example, if you want an icon, you can pass an icon, but it's always in front. This is the design, and for most of the cases, this is completely fine. But now we open the drop-down elements for full customization when the fixed design is not enough. So let's add a new option to the select. Same from the slide. And now this custom content is displayed at the bottom. Just for sake of the example, I prepared one more with a different layout. So whatever goes inside the option custom component is defined by the application developer, which has the freedom to add something, on his needs. Okay, and the second enhancement was the overstyling capability. As you can see, this simple CSS that I'll just uncomment will be applied. Was previously not possible. Yeah. And to sum up, basically this opens the door for full customization, and this will be adopted in all drop-down components, not only the select, combo box, input with suggestion, and whatever you can guess. Okay, let's continue. The next addition is the next cool things are that we've added 3 new components. We extended our set based on our stakeholder requirements, and first comes the dynamic page, which is foundation for multiple pages in SAP design, and it's known for its dynamic header, which collapses and expands upon scroll. Then we've added a form, which is a layout component, a pretty common one, that arranges labels and textual inputs in these key value pairs, displayed in specific number of columns with a complex responsive behavior. And we also have a tokenizer component, which is a container for tokens with overflow behavior, which is built in. When the tokens do not fit the available space, they will be shown in a popover. I'll show them later on to see them in action. Just want to present one more great feature. It's the drag and drop, which allows moving and arranging elements on the screen at runtime. And this drag and drop feature is now available in the list, tree, and tab container components. And with that, we aim to cover even more complex workflows, runtime adaptations, and whatever you can imagine with a drag and drop. Right. And we have a brand new playground, new home for our documentation and samples. And let's have a look to our playground, and also quickly demonstrate the features that are mentioned. All right, so this is the starting page, the landing page of our playground, and let's get started. Maybe I can zoom more. It's, I think, one. Okay. So the first thing to mention is that it has completely renewed new user experience, because we migrated from Storybook, which has its own appearance and design. This one is based on Docus Hours, and it's statically generated and really performant playground. But the visual part is only a small part, I would say, because there is much more functionality inside and new sections. I'd like to share that we have a blog section where we plan or already have a couple of blogs, but we'll continuously push more. And I suggest that you follow up the progress there. For example, you can read about the new Popular API or how to prepare for the 2.0 version. But most of the enhancements were done in the components sample section. Let's open the avatar. It was first. In addition to the avatar itself, below we have a live editor that you can just change, and the change is immediately reflected. So the ones that wants to just code something or change it, it's now possible. You can also add files if you want, styles and so on. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it also has code completion, and not only for the attributes but for the tags. So it's, yeah, pretty convenient, I would say. All right, so let's see the new components. First, we have the forum, and it's several components that are new. The forum, which is the top-level container component, and in addition, we have the forum group to implement grouping, and the for item, which is really the label and the input, this key value pair. So how it looks, the basic example is this one. Yeah, probably yeah, you know how the forum looks, but yeah, it comes with this responsive behavior. There are several breakpoints that are considered. Let's find a more complex example to explain the details here. Okay, with this one, maybe the most important property that you can also influence how the form is displayed is the layout property. And it has this format for defining how many columns the form should be displayed into per breakpoint. For example, we are now saying I want 1 column in S, 2 columns in M, and so on. And the form just complies. For example, this is the M size now. We have 2 columns, and in S, it's just a single column. With this, you can influence the layout that best fits into your space wherever you are adding the form. But it's just one of the settings, actually. You can have groups, as I said. The groups can have headings to be more noticeable, where the group is starting and ending. And we also have this label span that you can adjust the space that the label should take from the whole form item. As you can see, there's 1/3. Here, the label and the second part are equal, or just take the whole line. Yeah, it covers a lot of cases. And here is the sample with input fields, which is common when the form is in editable mode. Yeah, and we have also an example how one can switch between display and edit. All right, so now let's also see the dynamic page. It's in the Fiori package. Also, one of the new components that I presented. And yeah, as expected, it takes basically the full page. It's a page layout. And here comes the collapsing and the expanding behavior upon scrolling. And you can also pin it if you don't want this behavior, or collapse it or expand it with a click. And also another specific thing is the floating footer that yeah, literally floats over the content at the bottom. Interesting fact is that all these areas here, for example, this is a heading, these are breadcrumbs, but these are done, let's say, for the sample to implement some specific design, but they're just slots or aggregations in terminology, so you can have whatever you want. It's not like limiting to a title, but in most cases it's a title. But just to mention that it's really flexible in that terms. Okay, and yeah, I'd like to show you the drag and drop in the top container, which is also a very cool feature, I would say. But let's find the example. I think it's in the bottom. Okay, the reorder tabs. Yes. So basically, as you can imagine, you can just drag, and not sure if it's visible. Yeah, it's visible. There is this indicator that shows you where the item will be dropped, and when it's dropped, it's go there basically. Yeah, I can play around with that, but interesting is that we also can nest it inside another popover here. So it's really complex scenarios going on here. If I go deep, we can also have multiple levels of nesting. So now I can go here and drop it on an item which is on the first level, and this go then a little bit shifted like a second level. And the way to enable this functionality is just by setting the movable attribute to a tab, or if it's a list on a list item, or if it's a tree, it's the tree item. So it's really easy. All right. We also have again, new section, kind of icon explorer, where all the icons are displayed. There are 3 packages for that: icons, TNT icons, and business suite icons. They all can be explored here, and you can either copy the name if you want, or copy the SVG. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do it. Okay. So let's zoom out. And yeah, at the end, I will show you one more great thing about the new home we have. There is a full screen playground area to quickly sketch a sample if you want, and it supports TypeScript. So for example, here we have a custom web component extending the UI5 element, and you can see the decorators, which are supported in TypeScript. So you can build upon these built-in examples if you like. Right? So let's move on. So after we saw these great features, I would like to touch another very important aspect of the whole story. As you might guess, major versions means breaking changes. But if we look back, it's already 3 years since version 1. So it's not like we are doing this exercise often, because we value stability and we know that code adaptations require some effort. The good part is that most of the breaking changes are pure API renaming, which means that they can be quickly fixed with find and replace in your Visual Studio Code or whatever IDE is using. And the motivation is to have more consistent APIs. And actually, most of the changes are suggested by application developers, so basically from the community. So we've listened and we applied the feedback. This is how we work. Some of the APIs were replaced with better alternatives, so it's for the good. The example clearly shows that previously in version 1, to open a dialog, you had to get a reference to the dialog and then call a method to open it. In version 2, opening a dialog means only setting this open attribute, and it can be done declaratively in any markup or template. All right, and we also have removed APIs that were previously deprecated or became obsolete over the time. For example, we removed a disabled property from the process indicator because, for example, it's dropped by the sub design. It wasn't used anywhere. It didn't make sense. I want to highlight the biggest maybe breaking changes so that you are aware of it. We renamed the batch component to tag. So if you use the batch, you need to use another tag name. And that's all. It was done to avoid confusion, as in SAP design, the whole concept, the design is called tag. And yeah, we just wanted to align with that. Okay, maybe the biggest change is the removal of Belize. And actually, when the Web Components project started, Belize was already there. So it's quite an old team, and basically SAP UI5 deprecated the team, and we took the chance to remove it because now we are encouraging really, and not only us, but also SAP design, all applications to move on to the newest teams, and it's the Horizon one. All right. And yeah, another aspect of this big and huge story for the popover API adoption is the removal of the static area, and it's also manifested in several places. It touches the component development part. So this is really for ones that are developing custom components. There is this difference that previously we had to define the static area template because the framework should have known where to put, which part to put to the static area, and also the static area styles. And now it's really simplified. As you can see on the right side, in version 2, there are no static area template, there are no static area styles. It's just everything in the same component, basically. And also, when you develop component previously, to access the popover, you first have to access the static area. And now it's just querying self, basically. The shadow root is the shadow root of the component that the popover is inside. So it's really simplifying a lot of codes, and yeah, great improvement. Of course, you don't have to track all of these breaking changes. We prepared a nice migration guide for you, and every single change is listed there, and you can find it in the documentation section of our new playgrounds. All right, so now let's hear about the specific timelines for 2.0.
Yes. At the moment, most of the breaking changes are already done, and we already have a release candidate. And with the release candidate, we want to engage our community so we can receive some kind of a feedback and iterate over it before the official release. And the official release is planned for the end of the month. Also, you can try it using the next stack when installing any of our packages. And we know that we have many adoptions, for at least for the moment. And with that, we are providing maintenance for version 1 until the end of the year, and version 1.24 is the latest stable release of the version 1. And this version will have monthly patches with bug fixes, so we can ensure that the consumers have smooth transition to version 2.
Okay, so yeah, we are not giving up on the version 1 as it's adopted in many places already, so we continue supporting it. But I'd like to take some moment and get you to the present with presenting several success stories, because I think they really reflect the benefits and the purpose, if you will, of our technology. So let's start with the first one. It's UI5 Web Components at SAP Signavio. Signavio offers tools for optimization of business processes. But more important, they had their own design system. And these are a couple of screenshots of how they looked in the past. And at some point, they had to align with SAP design to adopt Horizon as part of this global encouraging task to everyone be aligned and have this consistent visual appearance. And this is the current state of the same applications after this migration and adopting Horizon. And to get it done, SAP Signavio adopted UI5 Web Components and UI5 Web Components for React. A really successful wrapper project over the pure web components. And these applications, I think I have also other screens for Signavio. Yeah, it's the process insights. Previously, we were looking at the collaboration hub and process intelligence. But more important is that they're publicly released already and used. So it's really a huge success. And these are only a couple of examples. We are all, talking about dozens of more UIs like that are productively released. Okay. So other great story is UI5 Web Components at SAP websites. By SAP websites, I mean those that are hosted in sub.com and has something related to sub-branding, this kind of websites. This in particular is the sub-store search, sub-product search, where one can just query the products at SAP. by some categories to filter them and so on. And as you can notice, it looks quite different from, let's say, SAP application with Horizon. So the first thing that was done is that new design system emerged for this SAP websites called SAP Digital Design System that is aligned with SAP Horizon. And we had a really nice collaboration with the responsible teams for these websites, SAP Marketing and IT. And they basically applied this new SAP Digital Design System. And they've done it, again, through the web components. And the interesting fact is that they not only used the UI5 Web Components as, for example, the Signavio example, to just use the tags, you get everything, but they've built their own custom web components library called UDX Web Components. With our tools, with our frameworks, restyling the existing web components, wrapping them, because the plan is to reuse their custom components, to facelift, to redesign other websites. So it's the reusable factor going on here. And yeah, the SAP product search website is already live on sap.com. So it's also, yeah, huge success for the colleagues, also for us. And yeah, it's really worth mentioning and looking forward for the next. And the success stories, yeah, do not end. And but this is the last one that I'd like to highlight. It's with the Kima project. This is the Kima dashboard product. And yeah, it provides really complex UIs for managing resources on BTP, Kubernetes clusters, that kind of complex stuff that I don't have a clue. But more important, similar to Signavio, they had to transition to Horizon and Align, and they've done it, and they've done it with web components and web components for React. Really nice looking UIs, really, yeah, it's really cool. And what can I say? This example really motivates us to keep going, to keep improving, but most of all, it's showing really how we contribute to the bigger goal of having a consistent UX across SAP products and even SAP websites, as you saw. And yeah, one more thing to share, which is again good for us because our stakeholder base is growing, which also reflects the growing confidence in our technology. And we are very thankful for that, and also committed to keep going and improving and to meet the expectations of our consumers. All right, so it was the present. Now let's see what is ahead of us.
Let's see what you can expect from us for the next year. Currently, we know that the AI topic is with high priority for the company. So with that, we are currently working on a new AI component set with the idea to support the development of different AI scenarios. Also, we are planning to continue our work to brand new table with the idea to replace the current one and to make it more feature rich by adding some features like virtual scrolling or the ability to have horizontal scrolls and multi-columns. Also, as you know, we are trying to keep our components accessible, and with that we are trying to stick to the latest accessibility specifications, so we are going to adopt the latest standard WCAG 2.2. Also, as always, we are trying to provide the latest design updates so everyone can have nice UI. From the framework side, we have some exciting news, and now all major browsers support declarative shadow DOM, which allows us to revive the topic about the server-side rendering. And yeah, we plan in Q4 to start again with the topic. Also, for the component development, currently there is option to write templates of the components only in the handlebars, but we plan to add support for writing GSX and TSX templates, since it's used as a syntax to write templates in different technologies. Also, as Ilhan mentioned, we have very successful wrapper story for the UI5 Web Components, and we plan to contribute to our ecosystem with new Angular wrappers called UI5 Web Components NGX. And the idea of the wrapper is to fill some gaps of the frameworks for support of web components. With that, we will provide a better development experience when developing application with the framework of your choice. And thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the very insightful presentation. Dear audience, it's your turn now. Do you have any questions for our experts here? There is a question. So I will throw them. No, actually, I will let you throw the mic.
Oh,
Please don't kill anyone. At least not
is
on
it
camera.
heavy? Oh, no, it's not. I think, yeah, it was here.
Hello? Yeah, okay, works. Thank you for your amazing presentation. It was pretty good. Okay, I come from a React background. I don't have a lot of it, but I know that, for example, Material UI is very tailored for React. You know, if you use React,
Yes.
you have the advantage when you use Material UI with it. So I want to know if with the web components, do you have the advantage when you use it with SAP UI or no? Is it tailored for that, or is it just
No.
a framework that can be used with anything and that's it?
Yeah, it's on a completely different track. So you mentioned SAP UI5, right? It's not tailored to SAP UI5. Okay. Yeah, it's the web components are based on the web standards. This you can think about them like spans and diffs that works in HTML in general. It's just that inside of it we added the visual presentation to look nice and also interaction. But it works wherever HTML works. So we can have it in React, we can have it in Angular, we can have it in other frameworks. And for the React, because your question started like that, we suggest using UI5 Web Components -React, which is a React components, wrapping our pure web components underneath to improve the component development experience in React. Because the React framework has few shortcomings that they promise to fix in the upcoming version. Not sure if it will happen, but for now, yeah, we resolve them through the wrapper. Yeah.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. Yeah.
When we come with SAP context, we have data-intensive applications, meaning that a component will receive hundreds of thousands of records, for instance. How does the web component, let's say, select or a table component handles memoization? Should I extend myself and take care of it, or it works with de-rendering and rendering data? How does it work?
I think it's this question is really nicely connected with our last slide. Let's just go to the, yeah, it's also already visible here. All right, so for example, if we plan to have a new table web component, which is exactly meant to handle big amount of data, which means multiple rows, multiple columns. And the performance, how to say it, we will reuse the DOM elements and just have you put the new data inside. So it's not like we are rendering thousands of DOM elements. You are seeing the same DOM elements, let's say 20 or 30, and we will let you just load the new data whenever you should. The so-called virtual scrolling, basically. So the scrolling shows that there are thousands of rows, but in reality, there are 20 rows, and we're just changing the data. And this will come with this data-driven table, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I have a short question because we saw in the keynote also already that the web components will be included to the UI5. And I have the question because you showed us that it's easy customizable, quite flexible, the select you showed us. And I have the question, will it be in the UI5 also be that flexible or easy to change the content then?
It should be.
Yeah, basically you can apply classes, CSS classes inside the
Yeah, the
HTML
CSS
views
stuff,
and
I'm okay with that,
You're
but the
Yeah.
about the
markup,
content.
yeah, that's where I'm talking about,
Uh,
because I hopefully don't have to create a new custom element or something
No,
like that.
no, it's not like that. I think what Peter showed in the keynote is really how you can say whatever version of web components
Mhm.
are used there, and he's doing wrappers on the fly because they are wrappers. I mean, SAP UI5 controls at the end behind the scenes, so that there be the glue between the SAP UI5 programming model
Mhm.
and the web components, and there in this layer that will be hidden for you, it will take care about this slotting to the
Perfect.
component to the control. So
it.
you have the same.
Okay, thank you.
Am I
I thought
audible?
that you
Yeah.
needed to dance and sing, not present.
Just wanted to ask, from this presentation, we saw indeed some foundational components, but yeah, well, as UI5 developers, we used to work maybe 90% with Fiori elements, some templates which generate us UI5 code, let's say, right? What is the vision? What is the strategy for Fiori elements? Will they still work on that classic UI5 controls, or UI5 web elements will be, I don't know,
Yeah,
injected,
you can answer that.
will replace UI5 controls in Fiori elements? Thank you.
Yeah, luckily I brought my bodyguard here. So whoever wants to answer.
I think I might actually have could take the answer. So I'm the chief architect for UX engineering, so kind of partially responsible for your elements. And yes, of course, we're evaluating the web components, how we could use them there. There's no concrete plan here right now that we will use them or not. But we're definitely evaluating them. We're seeing if it makes development, maintenance, performance better or simpler for us. And then we will do the exchange when it makes sense. But for you as a Fiori Elements user, consumer, the great thing is there's no difference. You will use the framework as before. You do not care about the technology behind the scenes. But of course, we, with our framework, will internally also take all the great advancements, the great innovations that are happening on the UI5 side and put them in place wherever we can.
Yeah, okay. It was mostly a case like if you can have metadata driven like web elements.
So if we would use them in Elements, then you would have them metadata driven. But again, that is something we're evaluating and no concrete plan at this point in time. And we're getting over time. So if there are further questions, our two experts also have an expert corner at, I think, 11:45. So please meet them there, talk to them there, ask them their questions. And I'll thank you again. I'll release you to the break. And please be back here at 11 a.m. We have a great presentation by Marian Seiss, one of our great community members, about how to craft the perfect development environment. So enjoy your break and talk to you later.